Hey, flocking friends, welcome to episode 4 of Write That Crochet Pattern podcast. There's been a lot going on in the world around us, and I was going to go another direction for this episode, but there's some things pressing in my heart that I feel like I need to address. So in today's episode, I'm diving into what's going on with Joann's recent bankruptcy and what that means for you as a crochet designer. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Cherie Mellick, and I am the crochet tech editor behind Sweetbird Crochet. As a crochet tech editor, I specialize in helping designers publish patterns that are not only accurate, but also clear, polished, and easy to follow. My mission is to empower crochet designers through education and mentorship so they can design and write patterns with excellence. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. Go ahead and grab your latest project and your favorite drink and listen in as you crochet. We live in a world of snippets of information. We can open up any social app and receive a 30 to 90 second news story about something that might interest us or that's relevant to us. These bite-sized videos are meant to capture our attention quickly, which they do most of the time, don't they? The issue with this format of snippet information is that it doesn't always provide the full story. We often miss out on the context, the background information, and some of the complexities surrounding the events that people share about it. Although these short snippets might make us feel informed about the latest news or happenings, they only offer a superficial understanding of what's really going on. There is always a bigger story and more information behind those short form videos. Honestly, guys, we must be more diligent in researching the truth behind what's being shared on social media. What happens too often on social media is that we see one content creator after another sharing about this quote unquote hot topic, right? It seems like they piggyback on one another, not because they care about the topic that's being shared, but because they feel like they need to stay on top of the most recent things that are happening to stay viral. I'm not saying every creator does that, but it does happen more times than not. Then when we, as the consumers of these short form videos, see one creator after another sharing about this topic, what happens? We begin to feel a sense of urgency to respond in some way. We may begin to feel fear or a sense of lack. The responses we feel often don't evoke a positive emotional response, does it? Take, for instance, Joann's recent bankruptcy. We've seen so many creators posting about Joann filing for bankruptcy and how they're going out of business. But guys, that's not the entire story. Okay, y'all already know I can't share anything without giving you the full history. So before we get into talking about the bankruptcy, I want to share the history of Joann. Joann was first established as the Cleveland Fabric Shop in 1943. That was 82 years ago. So 3 German immigrants in Cleveland, Ohio started this company. And in 1963, the name was changed to Joann Fabrics. The new name was inspired by the daughters of 2 of the owners, combining their names Joan and Jacqueline Ann to create Joann, Joann. Then in 1969, Joann Fabrics became a publicly held corporation, meaning that its stock is owned by the public and traded on a public stock exchange. It was initially traded under the name Fabric Centers of America Incorporated, and from 1994 to 1998, Fabric Centers acquired several other fabric businesses, and that just led to exponential growth. Then in September of 98, the company changed its name to Joann Stores Incorporated, and all the brick and mortar stores were renamed Joann Fabrics. Then in 2010, Joann sold out to a private equity firm called Leonard Green and Partners. The company experienced several changes in leadership and their financial stability fluctuated over the years. Then in 2018, Joann Fabric rebranded to just Joann. So now it's just capital Joann. It rebranded to just Joann to broaden its image beyond just fabrics, and it wanted to be recognized more as a craft store. Wade Miquelon became president and CEO in 2019, and of course, during the pandemic, the company had a strong financial performance, and it added over 9 million new customers. Then fast forward to May of 2023, and only 4 months before it filed bankruptcy, Miquelon retired. On March 18th of 2024, Joann filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This allowed the company to cut over $5 million in debt. Now, here they are again, filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So what does that mean? Filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy lets a business reorganize its finances while still keeping the doors open. The main idea is to sort out their debt and come up with a plan to pay back their creditors. In the footer section of the Joann website, you can click on the newsroom link and read the most recent press release, and it explains the bankruptcy in greater detail. I want to read a little snippet of what the company wrote that clarifies its intent in this bankruptcy. And it states, quote, "The company is seeking court approval to commence a process for the sale of substantially all of its assets under Section 363 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code, pursuant to which Gordon Brothers Retail Partners, LLC, quote unquote, Gordon Brothers, would serve as the stalking horse bidder. The proposed transaction is subject to higher and better offers, among other conditions. The company continues to actively solicit alternate bids. If other qualified bids are submitted during the court-supervised sale process, the company plans to conduct an auction or auctions with the stalking horse bid setting the floor for the auction process." End quote. So basically, Joann is looking to sell the business to someone so they can keep doing business as usual. I didn't know what a stalking horse bidder was, so I looked it up and found the definition on investopedia.com, and it reads, quote, "A stalking horse bid is an initial bid on the assets of a bankrupt company. It is chosen by the bankrupt company and becomes the minimum amount the assets can be purchased for. The assets are then opened up to other bidders who must make a higher bid to succeed in buying them." End quote. According to the customer fact page on the Joann website, if the sale to Gordon Brothers, the stalking horse, is completed, they, the Gordon Brothers, intend to liquidate the company and conduct going out of business sales at all Joann locations. So yes, Joann might close. Right now and in this entire process, Joann intends to conduct business as usual. We'll see tons of sales as we have in the past few years, not because they're trying to get rid of inventory to close, but they need to earn money to pay their debt. So we might also see store closures, but Joann says on their website that that's just usual business practice. I'm not sure how long this bankruptcy and the auctioning process will take, but the court filings and dates are also listed online. So they filed their petition this year on January 15th. The first day hearing was on the 16th, and the final hearing on certain first day motions will be on February 11th at 2 p.m. And I'll have all the references and the links that are mentioned in today's podcast in the show notes on my website. You can go to sweetbirdcrochet.com/Joann. Okay, so what does this mean for you as a designer? The last thing we need to do is freak out and go buy up all of the yarn at Joann. I mean, you can do that if you want to, but that's not going to solve the problem. Eventually, if they close, you're not going to be able to find any of your favorite yarn. So yeah, you might have a bunch of stock, but for what purpose? You'll only be able to design so much before you run out. Don't go broke or overspend out of fear. Just do business as usual. Okay, I want to give you some actionable steps and some considerations so you can navigate this whole thing with grace. First and foremost, stay informed. Don't rely on social media news to stay up to date. Go onto the Joann website, monitor their newsroom, research trusted online resources so you can find out what's happening in the proceedings. And as I said just a minute ago, if you stock up, you can only design a certain amount of items before you either run out of stock or you'll need some kind of color, but they don't have it. So consider exploring some other alternatives that are equivalent to what you usually use at Joann. This might be a really great time for you to go to your local yarn shops and support them, or maybe find a really awesome indie dyer online. And the other thing you can do is, if you've already planned out your designs for this year, you should kind of have a clear idea of how much yarn that you're going to need for each project. So instead of waiting until you start working on that design to purchase your materials, go ahead and buy what you need ahead of time, provided that you can afford it. I am a big advocate of purchasing within your budget. Don't overspend. Don't go into debt out of fear. You know, I've never been the kind of person to fearmonger or to stock up on things because other people are freaking out. I've always tried to do business as usual and then find alternatives along the way. Doing so protects our mental health and our pocketbooks. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I know it was just a really short episode, but I needed to share what was on my heart. I'll be keeping a close eye on how things progress with the proceedings, and if Joann closes, I am definitely going to be sad. Most of the materials I purchase for my crochet designs or different projects for quilting and some of the sewing projects I do come from Joann. I have been a big supporter for a long time. I hope they can find someone who wants to carry on the legacy, but if not, y'all, we're gonna need to pivot. If you're new here, take a moment to subscribe, leave a review or a rating. I would love to hear from you. I enjoy sharing the knowledge I've gained over the years about designing and writing crochet patterns with you. And until next time, write that crochet pattern